You have big dreams of losing weight and creating a healthy, joyful life. But you find yourself craving sugar, caught up in what the scale says, and diet hopping. Dieting is the old way of losing weight. And the good news is I'm going to give you a new way of eating so you can ditch diets for good and build a healthy relationship with real food. My name is Megan Olson, certified nutrition practitioner, creator of Skinny Fitalicious, and your host of the Dish on Diets show.
Hello friends, today I'm going to share with you the number one weight loss progress killer. This is the hidden killer of progress that gets in the way every single time. But before we get to the meat and potatoes of today's podcast, I love saying that, how much it means to me when I read your positive reviews or I get your messages from you guys saying how much the podcast has helped you. It truly, truly is a blessing to be able to do this work for women over 35. So I appreciate you so much and all of your support. So now let's get to today's podcast. So here's the thing. I've been on a lot of calls over the last 11 years. I've been doing this for 11 years with women over 35 who are interested in nutrition coaching. So if you're not aware, I offer free 30-minute consultations. The link is actually in the show notes of this podcast, or you can go to my website, skinnyfitalicious.com, if you're interested in setting up a consultation with me. So I've been on a lot of calls over the last 11 years with women over 35, and in those conversations, never once have I encountered a situation where a woman was just completely clueless about nutrition and exercise. I mean, I've never met somebody who didn't understand the importance of protein or eating more high quality foods or consuming more fruits or vegetables. And likewise, I have very rarely encountered a woman who never heard of calories or never heard of calorie counting or never calorie counted a day in her life. Now, were there situations where somebody needed to get some fine tuning with their nutrition? Absolutely. This is always 100% the case. If you're trying to tackle all of this stuff on your own, you're never going to have all your bases covered. So for the most part, every conversation that I have with women in my consultations is like, Megan, I know what I should be doing. I know I should probably track calories. I know how to track calories. I've done it a million times. I've done programs like Noom, and I signed up for all the calorie tracking apps. I understand the importance of protein, Megan. I understand I should probably cut back on my alcohol and eat out less, Megan. I know I should probably work on my sleep routine, Megan. I know exercise and strength training is important, Megan. I guess I just need to get back to it. I try to get some walks in, but I really need to work on this walking and step thing. So there's never been, in my 11 years of helping women over 35, there has never ever been a single situation where a woman was completely clueless on what she needed to be doing. No one has ever said they didn't know the importance of protein. Now, most of my clients are under consuming protein, so that's part of the fine-tuning part I was talking about just now, because no one has ever started coaching with me, absolutely clueless about the importance of protein for fat loss, but usually they're never eating enough protein. So that's usually something we have to dial in. That's the fine tuning. Fiber, I would say, if there's any area of nutrition that people are totally clueless about, it's fiber. None of my clients really have been hitting their fiber goal. 95% of Americans, in fact, are not consuming the recommended daily fiber. And fiber is so extremely, extremely important for preventing the development of chronic diseases. It is the one nutrient that is so crucial and has been shown time and time again to prevent chronic diseases. But that is the one area, the only area that I've consistently seen women totally missing it. But most of the time, people know kind of like the big stuff that they should be doing. So what I'm trying to say is that, most women over 35, they do have a basic understanding of nutrition principles for fat loss. They kind of understand those big things they should be doing. They understand the importance of exercise and strength training and steps and sleep and water. But what I have observed is that a lot of women over 35, They think a meal plan is the answer to why they're not at their fat loss goal yet. Or they think that having the right calorie calculation or knowing how much protein to eat or fiber to eat is going to be the solution, and thinking that this is what's going to finally set them free. If I know these things, this is going to set me free. But that's not true. That's not what's missing here. If fat loss and getting healthier were really as simple as, tell me what to eat for protein, tell me how much, tell me what the meal plan is, tell me what the calories are, the fiber is, no one would ever struggle. There would never be a struggle. If it were just as simple as telling somebody, just eat this many calories, just get this many steps, just do these exercises, just eat this much protein and fiber, nobody in the history of this planet would ever struggle to reach their fat loss goal and get healthier. You know why? Because the reality is food is never the problem. Nobody ever believes me when I say this, but when people start working with me, they start to realize it's not really the root cause problem. Knowing what to do, what to eat is never the problem. So what is the problem? That's probably what you want to know, right? Here's what it is. Life setbacks that spiraled out of control and the inability to reset or the inability to switch gears or take shortcuts. Every single woman I have ever coached in my 11 years had something happen while we were coaching. Oh, I was doing great, Megan. I was humming along with eating my protein and my fiber, tracking my food, getting my steps and exercise. Then this thing happened. When in the history of our lives has nothing ever happened? Never. Never, never, never. That's just not life. I mean, this is so, basic, right? I got sick. My kids got sick. A pet got sick. A parent was injured. I was traveling for work. I was stressed with work. I was stressed dealing with my kids and their activities. The holidays happened. Halloween candy came in my house. My in-laws showed up with cake and wine. My kitchen flooded. I was having a house remodel. A hurricane happened. I was sad. I was bored. Something happened and they begin to spiral, right? So they come to a coaching call and they're like, Megan, I stopped doing everything I was doing before and I started to comfort eat at night, drink more alcohol. I got lazy with food. I stopped tracking, stopped working out, stopped paying attention to steps. Or the other side of it too is I do really well during the week when I'm busy, but then the weekend comes around and I'm bored. And I have more time and there's more snacks, so I mindlessly eat the snacks. I sleep in on the weekend, so getting my protein and steps is harder. And my spouse, he's eating junk or ordering takeout and stays up late. And I'm like, well, whatever. I usually end up doing whatever he's doing, eating whatever he's eating. Am I right? These are like all the real life challenges that we're all faced with. Even me, I'm faced with these things too. I'm not like some princess. I'm a normal person, right? This is real life. This is what actually causes people to struggle. Real life. This is what is causing women over 35 to get frustrated that they're not making progress. This is the number one progress killer of fat loss. And notice, it has nothing to do with how much protein you should eat or how much fiber you should eat or how many calories you should eat or how many steps you should get. That's the easy part. It's the life part and the self-sabotaging behaviors that are the killers of your progress. It's the inability to reset and get back to baseline behaviors that is the real problem. A meal plan or a new calorie calculation doesn't fix that. Or doing Noom for the 1,000th time or Weight Watchers for the 20th time. It doesn't fix any of that. No. Right? It's the how do I allow myself 2 or 3 slices of pizza instead of 6? And how do I not feel guilty for eating Halloween candy or holiday cookies? How do I get some steps today versus saying, screw it, there's nothing I can do? How do I still feed my body protein even when I'm taking my father to the hospital for tests? How do I get some nutrients in my body even when I'm sick? This is the hidden disruptor of your progress right here. These are the self-sabotaging behavior patterns a lot of people fall into. And this is why a lot of women over 35 just continue to struggle until they finally decide to get help with these things. So, true story, I actually have a client whose father has been going through some health issues. This is pretty normal. In our age group, our parents are aging and they're getting sick. I mean, I shared on this podcast about my own father and his journey, and, he passed away last year from Alzheimer's, and it was a good 10 years of him being sick and my mom taking care of him. It was a struggle. So our parents are getting older and a lot of them are getting sick and we're having to take care of them or they're getting injured, right? So I have a client whose father's going through some things and she's been taking him to the hospital a lot. You know what she does? She packs a cooler with a sandwich, with her protein, with fruits and vegetables and a yogurt. So she's got stuff to eat. And the first time she went to the hospital, she had a good mindset. She actually looked for protein in the cafeteria and did the best she could with the cafeteria food. But then she learned from that experience that packing something would be a lot better and make her feel better. And that's what my client is doing now. And that is what most people fail to do. They would never intentionally think ahead and pack something. Never, ever, ever. Too hard. Not going to do it. Some people don't even think of it. It doesn't even cross their mind. They're like, oh, I didn't even realize I should do that. This is why so many people get stuck and frustrated. They feel like they are helpless and can't do anything. They feel like life is too stressful and things are always happening, so they feel like they can't do anything. They feel like a victim, and this is just how their life is, and they can't do anything, and that's why they're stuck. So this is why I always say mindset is the secret missing ingredient to your success. You must, in this journey, learn how to think differently. If every time something happens in your life, you stop and then you struggle to reset, that is truly where your work is. It's not a new way of eating. It's not a new workout plan. It's not a new meal plan. It's not a new calorie calculator. It's not going back to Weight Watchers for the 20th time. The easy stuff is knowing what to do. The not so easy stuff is navigating real life. That is what is hard, and that is where the real work is. I think I mentioned on a previous podcast how a lot of people don't really realize how simple nutrition could be. Like breakfast could literally be 2 yogurts and a piece of fruit, or it could be a bowl of oatmeal with a protein shake and a piece of fruit. When somebody travels and says they can't stick to their plan, it's not because the plan is too hard typically. It's usually because that individual has not practiced with their mindset, figuring out what could they do. I notice a lot of women spiral and overwhelm themselves and stress themselves out when new situations arise versus just taking a big breath and thinking, how might I make this as simple as possible? What are some of the easy things I could look for? Nobody does that. Everybody overlooks that because they get so stressed and overwhelmed. Right? So I actually said this to a client recently whose child's been very sick, and then she got sick. I mean, it was like a whole month thing. So she was just literally eating crackers and ordering takeout because she was sick. And I said to her, well, what do you think? Do you think we could get maybe some Progresso, soup cans in your house and a rotisserie chicken? Could we get that DoorDash to you so you can do like an upgraded meal with some more nutrients? And she was like, oh my God, I never thought of that. I'm going to do that right now. Exactly. We need to learn how to semi-stay on track when life happens versus absolutely doing nothing. You're going to be way more consistent when you learn how to do that. And you're going to see way more progress too when you do that. You're not always going to be perfect, right? But at least you're way more consistent than just being like, screw it, I'm just going to do takeout, right? And honestly, I've been doing this for 11 years, so don't take this the wrong way. But from what I have seen, most women really suck at doing this. And that's why they struggle. That is why they never make progress, because they're always stopping and restarting versus figuring out how to simplify and how to take shameless shortcuts. This honestly is why coaching is so helpful, because it almost is never about the food or knowing what to eat or knowing what to do. That's almost never the problem. And a lot of times women who come work with me and think I'm just going to tell them exactly what to eat and how to exercise and how to sleep and manage stress or what foods to cut out, and it's all going to be sunshine sunshine and rainbows and they'll reach their goal and be so happy. Like, yes, I do give specific directions, specific guidelines nutritionally, of course. I'm a nutritionist. I help you find the most optimal nutrition for you and what the right balance is, right? That includes your favorite foods, includes flexibility, includes foods you enjoy while still making progress towards your goals. I do give direction also on workouts and walking and steps and habits and mindset to work on. I help you work through all these different variables that play a role in improving your body composition and your health. But more than anything else, it's the self-sabotaging behavioral patterns and the self-limiting beliefs that 100% of the time get in the way of progress. It kills your progress. These things matter more than anything else, and I see it time and time again with clients. And yet, far too often, women over 35 are so tactical focused on like how much protein, how many carbs, how many calories, how many steps. But at the end of the day, that's not truly what's getting in the way of progress. It's not. It's the consistent lifestyle changes and reducing those self-sabotaging patterns and being able to reset when something happens in your life faster, or being able to think through an alternative or easy options instead of doing nothing when a setback happens. It's like, I got sick, I had an injury, I got stressed at work, this thing happened with my kids and I was racing around, or I had to stay late at this work event, or I had this unexpected situation. These are the things I hear from clients all the time. All this stuff, nowhere did they say, I didn't know what my calories should be. I didn't know what my protein should be. That's never the problem. That's not the setback. It's the life stuff that causes these setbacks and not knowing how to navigate the life stuff. And ultimately, it impacts your consistency, and it can make you kind of feel like you have lost your momentum, which leads to a lot of frustration in the journey, frustration with yourself. And then also you start to think, this is just not something I can do. It's not possible. My life is too hard. It's just not possible, which I think is one of the worst things, is when you start to develop this belief system that you just can't do this. But the thing is if you truly want this to be a forever lifestyle, you have to learn how to navigate the real life situations. And at the end of the day, the real value is in when you can have a coach who can help you work through these things. That is the point of coaching. The point of coaching is not for somebody to just hand you a meal plan or a calorie number or give you a workout plan. That's the easy part. And I think that's what most women think coaching is all about. That's not what coaching is all about. I mean, I spoke to a woman a while back who was telling me she knew what to do but wasn't doing it. And based on our conversation, she truly knew what she should be doing. She just wasn't doing it. And I explained to her it's probably her limiting beliefs, but it's 100% her sabotaging patterns getting in the way. And she couldn't really wrap her mind around any of this and why there would be value in coaching. Her words were, I know what to do. I just need to force myself to do it. I don't need talk therapy. Well, that's not what coaching is. Coaching isn't talk therapy. You go to a therapist for talk therapy. But, some people just can't connect that coaching is about correcting the behavioral patterns and working on the self-limiting beliefs that are getting in the way of doing what they know they should be doing. And this is true of many women. So I'm not picking on anyone, but it is, I think, some kind of like mental place where a lot of people just get stuck because they think coaching is somebody just telling them what to eat. I mean, that's not going to work. That's why coaching is so much more than somebody just saying, here, go eat this thing. If you have a coach right now that's kind of working with you in that manner, that's probably not the right coach that you should be working with. But coaching is not a meal plan. It's not somebody just handing you a calorie number or giving you a list of foods you can't be eating. That's not coaching. There's many coaches that do work that way, but that's not how I work. So the point is coaching is not what most women expect. Most women expect a meal plan or a calorie number. Anybody can spit that out. You can use a calorie counter. Even on my website, I've got a calorie calculator and you can get a number. You don't need a human for that. You need a human to work through those behavioral patterns that are sabotaging you when a real life setback occurs. It's to help you navigate real life so that it becomes a lifestyle you can do until you're 85 years old, so that you can create permanent and sustainable results and you never have to start over again. The other piece of this is not knowing how to phase nutrition properly. I see a lot of women who just don't know how to do maintenance. They're forever pursuing fat loss and never spending any significant time learning maintenance. If you look back on your life, how much of it has been spent pursuing fat loss versus maintenance? Probably most of it's been on fat loss. Like you're either totally restrictive with your diet and super strict, or you're like a wild monkey eating everything and not paying attention, right? So understanding how to do maintenance and when it's appropriate to get out of fat loss and go back to maintenance, especially like when life happens, and also knowing when it's not appropriate to overreact and head into fat loss because you're overreacting to something in life or because you feel like you did something wrong, right? These are important things that you need to understand and learn. And this is another value of coaching. Maintenance is a piece of my 6-month program that I work on with my clients. It's something that I've recently, within the last few years, have made part of my program and have really stressed to clients. So you need the first part, which is learning to navigate real life when life happens so you can make this a consistent lifestyle, as well as understanding how to phase nutrition from fat loss and how to do maintenance. That is what most women need. And it's truly disheartening to see how many women tell me how frustrated they are, that they're not where they want to be. Some are very emotional when they talk to me. Some will even cry while speaking to me. And it just really breaks my heart. They will tell me like this is the most important thing to them in the world, but it's really disheartening when they choose not to get help, and it's help that they need and deserve. They will come up with all kinds of excuses. I don't have time, I don't have money, or it's my sisters, brothers, cousins, nieces getting married next month, so I can't do it right now. They fall into the same self-sabotaging behavior patterns. So you have to get out of your own way if you don't like where you are. If you're frustrated, you're crying, you're emotional, you want something different, you got to get out of your own way. I said this to somebody in my messages the other day, that you are the creator of your own misery if you do not choose to do something different. Because repeating the same behavior pattern and expecting a different outcome is you creating your own misery. At some point, you have to recognize that in order to move forward, and unfortunately, it's really difficult to recognize those sabotaging behaviors without the help of an outsider. But at some point, you got to recognize that in order to move forward and get out of where you are right now, you got to be willing to get help. But you have to take the first step. You have to be willing to get out of your own way and be brave enough to get the help you need and deserve. That's the first step, and that part is on you. Prove to yourself that your words mean something. Actions need to match words. My client Tanya, who was on this podcast in episode 122, she talked about how she fell into like a funk when she got injured during our coaching, and how coaching was so helpful for her to figure out how not to revert back to her old ways of just doing nothing. Because that's what she used to do. She did Weight Watchers over and over again, and she could never figure out what was going on. And part of what was going on was every time something happened, she would just revert back. And she learned through coaching how she used to fall back into this pattern of giving up whenever something happened. And that is really the definition of self-sabotage. And through coaching, we were able to rectify that. We were able to create awareness and figure out how do we change that mindset for her so that she could figure out how to keep going and not totally sabotage herself. So if you haven't listened to Tanya's episode, I encourage you to go and do it, because this happens all the time with clients. Stuff happens and we have to work through that. I've had a lot of clients tell me they were so glad that they started coaching like during a busy time or a time where they traditionally would have self-sabotaged, because it helped them figure out how to navigate these real life times. Taking care of your health is not something you do just when life is easy. And that's kind of what a lot of people do. That's how they treat it. It's something you have to do all the time. This is your health. I mean, I say this all the time, and kind of jokingly, like, do you stop showering or brushing your teeth when life happens? No, you pivot, you learn how to reset, and you learn how to get stuff done, even if it's not how you normally do it in your routine. A lot of us don't carry over this same mindset to nutrition and exercise. Like for me, I never personally would ever think when something happens in my life, like, oh, can't eat protein now. Oh, can't get any steps today. I personally think when something happens in my life, well, now I have to deal with this thing. How do I still fit in some steps? Where do I get my protein? I go into problem solving mode. For me, it's never an optional thing. And it wasn't having a calorie number or a meal plan that helped me get to this place. Food is not the problem. Knowing what to do is never the problem. The real problem, always 100% of the time, is the thinking, the mindset, and not knowing how to navigate when something happens that disrupts your life and falling back into those old self-sabotaging patterns. 100% of the time, this is always where your real work is, and it is the silent killer to your fat loss progress. And I'm willing to bet if you do a little bit of reflection today on what I'm saying, you're going to see the times that you have fallen off the proverbial bandwagon. This is why. Something happened in life. This is why you were just off plan and off doing whatever. So take some time to think through that. I hope that this episode was helpful for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, you have to come check out my free weight loss class. It's the 5 steps to lasting weight loss, how hormones impact weight loss, and the truth about lasting weight loss without relying on willpower, workouts, or deprivation. Click the link in the show notes to watch that free class today. And if you are a woman over 35 with 20 to 50 or more pounds to lose, schedule a free weight loss breakthrough session with me after you watch that class. And let's talk about your 20 to 50 or more pound weight loss plan.